That entire scene had me like... In the entire history of anime, I don't think a single show has ever been ruined by making a character too strong. Not one. Right, guys? Right? Okay, there's been some. For example, what's Superman's biggest weakness? Kryptonite or the need to save his loved ones? No, I don't think so. I think Superman's biggest weakness is being a remarkably boring character. Because when you give any character too much power, it leads to a common problem. How the hell do you create conflict? Because good conflict is a really important plot device for almost any story. Okay, if that's the case, then why the hell did the writers of Jujutsu Kaisen give Gojo Satoru so much power? My name is Pei, and today we're going to be talking about how you make a drastically overpowered character interesting. Superman has fallen out of the public's interest in comparison to heroes like Batman or Spider-Man. The last 4 Superman movies have been released to lukewarm reception, and there's likely lots of reasons for this, but I think there's one obvious problem. Superman's never-ending overpowered abilities lead to uninteresting conflict. Now, before comic fans pull out an obscure volume of Superman that challenges this, I think that's more a testament to the way writers were clever than it is to Superman as a character. We've actually seen a huge movement away from characters like Superman in most modern media. However, there are some exceptions, like One Punch Man, that challenges this idea of what Superman would be like and showcases that it would actually be very boring to beat everyone always. There are also shows like The Boys or Invincible that continue to explore this archetype in an interesting way, but one thing is clear. You can't just make a Superman character anymore without adding at least one layer of depth that allows for some interesting conflict. Because Superman isn't a bad character, he's just a hard character to write. So insert Gojo Satoru. Charismatic, silly, narcissistic, and overwhelmingly powerful. This character would normally pose huge problems for writers in creating compelling conflict, but there are lots of decisions made in Jujutsu Kaisen that make for a really interesting story exploring this character in a different light than we've seen in the past. Okay, we're at the point now where I need to give a spoiler warning. We're going to be talking up to Season 2, Episode 4 of Jujutsu Kaisen. So often, the best way to establish a character with good conflict is to create clear limitations. For example, if you give Batman the limitation of not killing bad guys, and then the Joker comes in and forces him to choose between saving 2 different groups of people, there's really clear conflict. So what limitations did they give Gojo Satoru? There's some great immediate answers in the first season. We have all this information that Gojo is really powerful, but we also know that he can't be everywhere at once. Another great example of limitations is looking at Gojo's motivations. While it's not clear exactly what Gojo's plans are, it's obvious he wants to cause change in Jujutsu Sorcerer Society, and he is an individual that can't be everywhere at once, both of which require him to rely on others. But the reason I want to make this video, and likely the reason you're watching it, is because Season 2 Gojo is very interesting. It seems pretty obvious that a major plot point in Season 2 so far is looking at the diverging paths of Suguru Geto and Gojo Satoru. From best friends who trust each other more than anyone else in the world, to clear opponents of one another with deep-rooted and insurmountable differences in belief. It's a super interesting question. You know, how did Suguru go from a kind-hearted advocate of protecting the weak to wanting to kill everyone that isn't a Jujutsu sorcerer? But today's video is focusing on Gojo, but more specifically, what makes him so interesting. Or in this case, it's not what, but who. Something a lot of anime tries to do, and Jujutsu Kaisen succeeds in, is making cool characters. And damn is Megumi's father cool. He's almost so cool that you forgive him for all the murdering and abandoning of his child. And he's a really interesting counterpoint to Gojo Satoru. Because to some degree, he is the answer, the counter to Gojo, as much as there is one. He's patient, clever, and really deadly. And something that's so cool about the writing of this story is the pacing for me worked perfectly. Right as Gojo lowered his guard, I lowered mine. Then we were both shocked to suddenly find a sword through his chest. Because part of the way Jujutsu Kaisen made an overpowered character interesting is they found a clever way to create a situation in which he loses, not once, but twice. At first, the initial fight, but more importantly, second, when he kills Amanai Riko. All 3 of these fights between these characters were so good. And while it's easy to focus on Satoru here, the fight between Toji and Suguru is maybe as good as anything I've seen from Jujutsu Kaisen so far. And as of episode 4 of season 2, Jujutsu Kaisen is not pulling any punches. I'm really excited to see where this story goes, and as we eventually jump back to the original timeline, how it ties into the rest of our characters. The movie and so far what we have of season 2 have been prequels setting up the main storyline, and Gojo Satoru is a remarkably well-written character despite being completely overpowered. Thank you. Subscribe for more weekly video essays about anime, or go check out one of my old videos.